let's see. So let me see here. All right, so I'm here to talk about Airbnb. Been doing Airbnb for 4 years maybe, and it got a little bit weird, obviously, in 2020. But what are you gonna do? You know, it's a crazy year. And they asked me to be an ambassador for them. And basically all that means is they want me to help other people who are thinking about using Airbnb as a source of income to help them set up their profile and get it going. And that is kind of a cinch for me. I've done a lot of different strategies, and I want to share 3 different strategies that you can use really immediately on Airbnb and start using it to leverage a little bit of cash money. I'm all about profiting first, and I like to see money come in before I spend it. So we did about $80,000 in 2019, and we're on par to do about 120 in 2020 based on one of these strategies. And I didn't own any property.
Hey.
I didn't own any property or signing any leases. I don't recommend signing leases because that puts you're already spending money. There's no reason to spend money. You know, I mean, you might have to buy some sheets and stuff like that. But I want to go ahead and share here my screen and show you my Airbnb portal, and I'll show you exactly everything that we did right here. And then we'll talk a little bit more about this. I'll also take some questions as well. So let's see here. So this is kind of what you see when you first go in to Airbnb. I have quite a few listings. These are several that we had, and I started with just one, and then we used that one to leverage to a couple, to more and more. And each one of these kind of had different strategies that went along with each one. I'm an Airbnb ambassador. I just got asked by them to do it. And I was like, well, okay, sure. What does that mean? That means that I don't work for Airbnb, which is good. So that means that I can be a little bit more transparent. And I am going to get paid, I guess. They're offering me money to help people who have yet to set up an Airbnb profile and do that type of thing. It's like, I think you get $75 if you sign up through my referral link. And so I can kind of coach you through the process of listing things, getting them ready, you know, how to leverage the app and kind of do a few of those things, get you kind of pushed off the side of the pool and kind of going in your own direction. The first thing that I did on Airbnb was I created a listing for a private room. Now, in order for the Airbnb ambassador program to recognize us, it has to be a full place. So that could be a whole house, a whole apartment, a whole bus, a whole tiny home. The thing about Airbnb that's cool that I like, we'll talk about positives here. It has a culture that kind of goes along with it. It's a little bit more personable than the other apps. I've used the other apps. Airbnb still kind of has a culture that it kind of clings to. You know, people kind of come into your house and stay with you on Airbnb. And I don't think there's any other app that does that, right? We've done VRBO and the other ones too, and there's kind of different markets for different ones. The thing about Airbnb is that you want to set yourself apart. You want to be creative. You want your listing to look unique in some way. This is really not a great example that I'm showing you of this particular thing. It's pretty basic. I did not go too crazy with the descriptions. You know, if I were working with somebody, I would go into a lot more detail. But what it also is cool about Airbnb is that they have the ability to put like a guidebook in here. So you can say, hey, go talk to my friend Sam at the coffee shop, you know, and you can coordinate with them and begin to kind of build a bit of a network that way. When you have that like intimate personal connection, that is what is going to get you good reviews, good ratings on the app. And the more you get good reviews, the more it's going to bump you up in the search results. So let me see if I can take a look at, let's go to performance here. So you want to be a super host. And Airbnb is they're gonna push you. They're gonna want you to do the instant book thing. But you don't have to do these types of things. But this is freaking robust. It's a lot more in depth than it ever used to be. But basically, they're going to say, do these things. Here's your quality. You have to have 80% 5-star ratings, which is not easy to do to be a super host. You have to have that in order to do it. And I think that's the overall rating that you have to have as well. And it's hard. You have to talk to people, and you have to kind of hustle a little bit to get those ratings. One of the things that we do is we'll say, hey, we're really looking forward to having you, before they're coming in. We're hoping that you guys have a 5-star stay, kind of seed that idea, and then just ask them for it. I mean, straight up say, hey, look, it's really important. People don't realize how important it is to have 5-star ratings. And especially in the climate that we live in, I don't know where all these hall monitors came from, but people feel obligated, I've got to do the right thing, and be really specific on the feedback. Which, if that happens, I'm just thank you for being so thorough with your feedback, and you have to just kind of roll with those punches. But there are definitely some things that you can do to ensure that you get better reviews. And there are some things that you can do in case someone is kind of a jerk or whatever. I've only really had one bad experience with Airbnb guest. It was a foreigner, and they came in, and they just took pictures of, they made a mess, you take little slips of paper and just drop them on the ground, took a picture of that. It was real obvious. And they wanted their money back, which I would have done anyways. But for the most part, I've had incredibly good luck. And even with other people's properties, that's kind of how you want to leverage this, is going through and using other people's properties and not your own. But we'll get to that in just a second. But all of this stuff, it shows you the exact, ratings, and, check-in ratings, and the location and the value and all these types of things. I am a super host, and you're going to want to try to get that. If you're a super host, then you're going to get better. You're going to get better results in the search algorithm. You're going to get bumped by it. And so you want to have really good reviews. Right here, I have an 83% occupancy rate. That is most excellent. I've already made, I think, about $2,400 so far in a month. And I just got started back on Airbnb. I think Airbnb is more appealing than a hotel right now for several reasons. Number one being hotels aren't even changing your linens for you or really giving you a whole lot. It's not that home feeling. It's smaller, things like that. So I think Airbnb is a little bit more appealing. And depending on where you live, if you live a touristy area or a place that has a lot of high traffic in a city, even if there are restrictions in place, like last year in Savannah and several other places, my God, if you live in Florida, you could do quite well, even if things get like that. So I highly recommend looking into it. I think right now there's a lot of opportunity, I think, in this app. Right now it's kind of coming back a little bit. So yeah, so basically what we did was I took my listing here, which is this right here. Really basic, simple listing. It's my house. It's not that differentiated. It's not super creative. It's just very basic and simple. And I put this on because we live in Athens, Georgia. There's a lot of football games. And so on the football games, I'm able to make a little bit more. I can charge more. And then on regular weekends, I think I'm charging about $100 a night, plus maybe a $85 cleaning fee, something like that. And so, with just the room, I was getting I started out at $18 when I first started, but I'm getting $55 a night for the private room. So if I have somebody in my private room, every weekend, let's say 8 nights total, then that is the same amount of money generated that I would make if I had a roommate. And that's basically what happened to me. How I got into Airbnb is I sort of fell into it. My sister was going to move in, and since she didn't, I was kind of hurting. So I posted this room on Airbnb, and it started going a little bit. I was able to raise the price incrementally, and then ultimately put my whole house on there. And now I'm living rent-free on this house. I'll generate probably about 13 grand on a regular year off of this house. And so that pays all my rent, and then most of my utilities as well. So I'm basically living free. So at that point, what we decided might be a smart idea to do was we would talk to other people, especially since we have big events in this town, and see if they wanted to partner with us. And there are a couple different strategies here. One thing that I may have mentioned up top, I'm pretty passionate about this. Like, don't go sign a lease. Why is it that every time we get into business, we think we have to spend money first? You don't, but there's two different strategies here when it comes to OPP. And that is, you can find someone who has a fully furnished home, like this guy's. He has this beautiful home in a golf place. It's called Reynolds Plantation. They have like 4 golf courses there, and we only rented it out for the Masters. And so we did really quite well for that week because we could do it at a premium, and we were getting to the point where next year, we'll put a chef in there, and these types of things. That's kind of the trajectory we were on before 2020. But this is already furnished. It's already got all these, amenities and things. This is another one that's in Dahlonega, and it's just a beautiful home, small but cute. And we were doing really well with these folks. It's about an hour away. Both of these places are about an hour away from us. And this is in a touristy kind of town called Helen, Georgia. Or I'm sorry, no, this is Dahlonega, Georgia. It's just lovely. It's a quaint little mountain town. She's got a fire pit, and this is her personal place. So she would take all her things that she don't want anybody to go through and stick those in an extra room and lock it and things like that. So maintaining that bit of privacy. But what we really did that really catapulted us was we found a house. This house is huge. It's actually 4 apartments in one house. And what we did was we took this one and we took all the money that I was making here, or some of it, on this house, and this was empty. It was not furnished. So we approached the homeowner and said, hey, listen, the particular scenario that we're faced with here in Georgia, in Athens, is if your property does not rent by the 1st of August, then you're not going to rent it for the year. And so this place was empty. It was a fine little apartment. And we decided that we would approach the landlord and say, hey, look, we'll clean this place up for you. We'll improve the value of it, and we'll put it on Airbnb, and we'll, make a deal. We'll keep the cleaning fee, and then we'll split the nightly rate. Well, the first month we got this thing rented for the whole month. So we got it rented for a month. Bam. That was easy, like $4,000, just like that, as soon as we had posted it. But we did have to buy a few things. We had to get some of this furniture and stuff like that, some of the bedding. But we were really resourceful with that too. We would just look through Facebook Marketplace and Let Go and those types of things. And we wound up finding really nice stuff, for super duper cheap. And so we took that $4,000 and we said, hey, we got $4,000. What next? And we leveraged that. And then we put it into the next apartment that's in that quadruplex, which is this one, I believe. And this is in a good location. It's really close to the stadium, and a really lovely, we took that money. I went and actually, I put this couch on a credit card at the time, but we went and got this place just looking snazzy, did everything we could. We didn't do any crazy demo or renovations in these places. We cleaned them up. We just cleaned them up and made them look nice. Got some decent furniture and stuff in there, and we took the money from that one and we put it into this one after that. And so this one was like a 3 or 4 bedroom as well. And so ultimately that became this whole house. And so this whole house we would rent out for, like, let's say a wedding weekend. We had a couple of those booked. We had a couple of football games booked where a whole group of people would come in and rent this whole house. And we did the Georgia Auburn game for that weekend. We did $7,000 for the weekend for this whole place. And they made a pretty big mess, but we had a good cleaning fee. And what's great about Airbnb is they're pretty good about that insurance deal. But we were able to take what started as just my little room and leverage it into a full-on, Airbnb management company, basically, and by using other people's property. And so what I really like is lake houses and things like that. What we called the strategy with this gentleman and this young lady with their homes in these, like, this is very much in a luxury area. It was paid vacation. I mean, this is his lake home. He didn't live there all the time. But even if he did live there, we could say, hey man, if you guys go on vacation, you leave your home, everyone is just leaving their houses there, paying money on it. Why not make money? So if you leave, we'll come in, we'll clean the place, we'll have people come in. Once they leave, we'll make sure it's spick and span, even better than it was before, and leave a check for you on the countertop. There's no, that's it. It's free money. Basically that's kind of the offer with that. And it did really well. We did 2 masters with him and did quite well on both of those. And I believe we actually also did a wedding out of that house too, because someone saw it and they messaged me and said, hey, we really, really, really like this house and we got a wedding. Can we do it? And so I spoke with him and we made it happen. So those are kind of the 3 strategies, right? You use your own place, which is awesome. Why not? And then you can really begin to make connections with people that way. That is the cool thing about Airbnb, is it does have that sort of culture as opposed to some of the other ones like VRBO. The properties are great on VRBO. We've used it, but it's less personal. Airbnb does have that sort of personal touch for whatever reason, I guess, because they'll often have like, older women who maybe live in San Francisco, right? And they couldn't afford their house if it wasn't for Airbnb, and they're renting out this, back room or whatever. And that is how they're able to afford their mortgage, and by making cookies for their guests. So they kind of have that sort of reputation. It's a little bit more, I would say, intimate or personal. And that is really the thing. That's the critical thing when you're getting involved with it, is you want to make sure that you are personal with the guests, or someone is, if it's not you. Because if you're not like messaging them and just making sure that everything's okay, letting them know how important it is that you get a good review, and basically just kind of paying attention to them, then you might not get that good review. You want to have those good reviews. You want to become a super host if you can. And I don't know how many trips you have to complete, but I do know it's 4.8. You have to have 4.8 stars, and you have to have what is the other thing? I don't know how many reviews you have to have, but it's 4.8 stars on the thing. But that's basically what we did. Was we took the momentum from my room and applied it to the next place, and if you're not resourceful, then I don't know that you necessarily want to get involved in something like what we did with this whole house here, because it was a lot. It was a lot. This is a huge undertaking, and it's not necessarily for everybody to go through and get all the furniture and all that kind of stuff. But even still, when we finished with this lady's property, I wish I had some before pictures. I asked my mom, but neither one of us had any. But what wound up happening, fortunately, is 2020 happened. We had all this place booked for all these weddings and football weekends and stuff. And then she, because of what happened with the pandemic and everything, she basically sold it, which is great. I like, that's my partner. I want her to do well. And they actually wound up buying the place furnished. So it was a blessing for us. She cut us a check for the furniture, and we were out of there. And her house sold. It was appraised for, gosh, I can't even remember, like under $300,000 before we did anything to it. And she was fully expecting to take a pretty nasty hit on it. And she wound up selling it for over $500,000. So she did quite well on it as a result of us putting some of that elbow grease into the property. So it wound up being a big time win-win for everybody, which is what you want in business, right? Like win-win-win. Everybody does well, everybody profits. But we took this place that was, a lot of people just didn't want to rent long-term, but it really fit the needs of these short-term kind of things. and we did pretty well on it. So that's a basic overview. And now I kind of want to show what some other friends of mine have done. I learned myself from my friends in Atlanta who have what they are calling now ATLGlamping. And these folks are amazing. These are good friends of mine. And they have done really, 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 really well on their little glamping community here. They put up a teepee in this teepee here. That's not a flattering picture really, but it's a cool teepee. It really is. These are steel beams, Nixon engineer. And that tarp is super duper thick. It's from the Georgia Dome of all places. But they started renting that teepee out because they're right in downtown Atlanta, East Atlanta Village. And they got like $70 a night for it. And they put it on as a joke. They were like, let's throw it up there. It'll be fun. And people loved it. You know, they had this like inflatable hot tub, and that's a better picture. And so what happened was that kind of grew into this whole community where they have Airstreams on their property. And they have goats and chickens, as you can see, and things like that. So they did a really great job of marketing themselves. And they're also really fun people to hang out with. It helps to be a good hang. But they've done really, really well. And so, you know, her listings, what they're selling that house now, I'm pretty sure they've done quite well on it, and they're selling it, being they're moving out a little bit further out of the city into the country. And they've got these domes now out there that they've built. And they're still doing quite well. They already have 24 reviews here. They're still doing quite well, even outside the city right now with these kind of offerings. And this is the house that was in the city. But like I said, it's going on the market. So that's what they've done. They're amazing. I highly recommend, you know, if you can, staying with them when you're in town. I don't think the teepees are going to be there, but these domes are still going to be around. And I was just shocked. I was blown away that they were able to do it. And they've done, like I said, really, really well. So yeah. So I think Airbnb is pretty interesting as far as, you know, how it can be leveraged. And there's other strategies too. You know, I'm showing you guys a couple that have worked for us and some friends of mine. And from there, you know, I'm sure there's a lot of other things. The biggest things are differentiation and just being welcoming and personable, you know? So yeah, so that's the basic gist of those strategies. And I would love to open it up now for questions, happily. I heard an I'm sure I forgot a thing or two, but I got answers for questions if you got them. And if not, that's cool too. We can just, what's up, Mark? Welcome. You kind of missed my little demo, but I did record it, and I'm pretty sure it should still be live on Facebook too. We still probably are. I wanted to share this in the Facebook group, but it looks like it's just public where everyone can see it. So that's fun. But anyway, yeah, I'd love to open it up. Like I said, any questions at all? Was that relatively comprehensive? Did I miss anything? I mean, there is a lot you can do with Airbnb there. So I'm sure I did miss a couple things, but I might have some answers if you guys got questions. You can type them in the chat if you like as well. But I'm going to go ahead and stop streaming here. Cool. Yeah. If you guys want to learn more about Airbnb, just get at me. Just like send me a message, and I'm happy to talk to you about where you're at and what you are thinking might work. And happily send some resources and things.
Did you find it to be slow going before you had the Superhost, as far as how many people actually wanted to rent from you?
No, I think that Airbnb bumps your listing when you first post it, and then they bump it when you make Superhost. So I didn't. Are you doing Airbnb right now?
No, I just I might get cut off because my cell battery is low, and I missed the part of the presentation, so I'm hoping to catch the replay. As I said in the email, we're moving out of the Asheville area, and it seems kind of tricky because the landlord, it's like a rented house, and the landlord has a storage garage here, and I think that technically it would be against the lease, so I don't know. But at the same time, it could be all right if he's not coming around. He doesn't come around that often, so the chances are low. But also, I was thinking about just keeping it to autonomy students looking to do farming internships and having like a solid house for somebody to stay in.
That's cool. I love that idea. And so there's things you can do too that wouldn't technically be against the lease. Airbnb has experience as well, so you could list it as that, like listed as people coming out to do some farming work and things like that. That's kind of a new thing. I haven't really explored that personally, but it's kind of a new thing that they've been doing over time. I don't recommend doing something that's against the lease. I think I've seen a couple people get in a lot of trouble for that. So, so I don't recommend, signing a lease necessarily either. But if you are renting a place, and I do rent this place, I don't own it, but I'm renting it, but I have permission, and I don't even have a lease anymore on this place. I'm just month to month, I guess. But but for me, it's been great. My rent is paid, so that feels great. I know that is like very it makes me feel secure, and then I can pursue other things. And so that's kind of been where my head's at. And I was blown away that it even worked at all. But every market's going to have different challenges, different supplies and demands, because for instance, this is a college town. So my friends in Atlanta that have the domes and stuff, they were still pretty busy throughout the whole pandemic. We got our knees taken out from underneath of us because we live in a small college town. Everyone just went home. They all scattered and no one was traveling in. And so our big events that we have here are football games. So the football games, that's a big draw. And then last year, they wouldn't allow tailgating, and it was only this capacity and those types of things. So that was challenging, and it wasn't worth it to really do very much with it. But this year, I'm hoping that it will be worth it, that they're going to continue. I've listed my house for a football game today, and bam, it rented immediately. I think a lot of people are scared. Obviously, a lot of people are scared. So I think there is a little bit more of opportunity in the Airbnb or short-term rental market than there was, because I remember it getting a bit saturated here for a little bit of a minute. There's no way I would be doing 80% occupancy in 2018 or 19. It wasn't happening, man. I was at maybe 50. So but yeah, cool. I'm happy to chat with you about some creative solutions or what have you to that, like, because the whatever it's called, the Airbnb experience thing, it's pretty cool. You can host a bunch of people, and you could do like a tutorial or like a all kinds of things, photography session, hike around town. There's a bunch of different things that you can do there. I haven't really
I didn't even think about that, because we're moving out because we got funded to do this other farming project, but I still have this thing going on here. And we realized that if we break the lease, the landlord could just ride it out and we'd still be responsible for it.
Right on. Well, cool. Yeah. So any other questions, ideas? I hope this has been helpful. I've really enjoyed being an Airbnb host. It's been a lot of fun. I've got to meet a lot of people. The last review that I got was like, Owen was simply magnanimous or something like that. I don't know how I deserved that, but if you can talk to people and get them to understand how important the rating system is, and let them know that you're going to rate them highly, and and all that kind of stuff, you want to maintain superhost status, then you can do pretty well pretty quickly. And I'll definitely link the recording. It's on Facebook. I'm also recording it here on Zoom. So I'll have this recording available. Anybody who wants to check it out. Let's see here. Honey asks, is there a site somewhere that lists the different types of experiences you can provide or that others provide? So to my knowledge, no. It's still something that's pretty new. But you can go on there and see what some of the other experiences are. From my understanding, there is no limit to the amount of experiences you can do. You could do pretty much whatever. I've seen just a few, when it started out, they started only in like New York and San Francisco and the bigger cities. But they have it here. And I think it's as creative as you can be is what you could put on there, So hopefully that's helpful. I think it's a great way to connect and make money, especially if you're somewhere in a touristy area. You got something cool you can show them. You could take them fishing or hiking or maybe even drinking. I mean, imagine going out on the town and getting paid to do it. I mean, goodness gracious, anything's possible, right? But yeah, that's the Airbnb story. I definitely will link the recording. I know a lot of people are interested in the information. Not everybody is able to make it, but I didn't want to do one of those fake live things. You know what I mean? Like, I'm so sick of that shit. Anyway, I won't rant, but I appreciate you guys very, very much for hanging out. And I encourage and welcome you to send me any questions about this. This is one of the things that I have been doing. I've been doing this for quite a few years, so I know a little bit about it, and more than happy to guide and direct you, give you some tips. Just hit me up. Let me know if it's something that you want to incorporate into your multiple streams of revenue as you continue on. And I plan to also do like more sort of apocalyptic strategy sessions, for lack of a better word. I met some people actually when I was in Michigan at the MPL Fest that are really interested in, I would say, like nuanced ways of trade, agora, outside markets, just basically being resourceful. It's something that's very important. And then I'll also mention my friend Lindsay has been working on an app that is a barter app that will be very secure and really usable when it's finished with its development. And that's going to be something that's really, really cool too. So I'm very passionate about that, and I look forward to seeing how it pans out. But yeah, I guess we'll let that do it for now. Everybody, yeah, like I said, hit me up if you have questions about this. I'm more than happy to answer any of them. And I appreciate your time and attention. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, everybody.